In this activity, we're going to convert our digital drawing into an animation using After Effects. I've opened up After Effects and I've been given this pop-up window, and I'm going to select Create a New Project. The first thing I'm going to do is create a composition. So my composition settings allow me to change the name, the dimensions of the canvas that I'm going to be working on, the time frame, and the background color. All of these settings are adjustable later on. However, if you change the dimensions, you'll have to rework the image size. So you can see I've got my plain canvas, and now I can import my imagery. So File, Import, and I'm going to find my Haider Photoshop file. This is an important pop-up. It's asking if I want to retain my layers, and I do. Because it's a Photoshop file, my image, my digital drawing is separate to the background photo, and I want to be able to animate that, so I'm selecting OK. I'm going to open up that folder option and drag it down to the Layers section. This has imported both of my layers. Now you can see just by looking at the canvas and at the Layers tab that the digital drawing is actually behind the background photo in the visual hierarchy. In this Layers section, I'm just going to click on that layer and drag it upwards so that she's now on top. She has a transparent background, so I can still see through to that background image as I could in Photoshop. And then I'm just going to sit and resize. I'm going to rename my layers. I'm also going to lock my background layer. This means that when I move the child around, I'm not going to accidentally add pins to that section. So I've now got this ready and I'm going to start animating. And I'm going to be using a very simple tool called Puppet Pin. So I selected the tool and I have just put a pinpoint on the top of her head, and I'm making sure that the mesh is turned on. So you can see the mesh is only in that one figure. I'm going to put a pin at the bottom of her head as well, her neck. I need to add in some pins in her other sections so that she is more anchored. I want to give her some movement in her head and in her hair. I'm using the hand tool to toggle around, because if I use the selection tool, I'll actually just be moving the figure as we did before. So I'm putting some pins into all of those parts of her hair that I want to be able to control and move around. The next step is starch. After Effects doesn't know that this is meant to be a human, but of course we've got bones and structure. I can't move my head and have it squish forward. This starch means that the anatomy of the person is not going to change or adjust, but I can still give her movement. I can change the percentages and amounts of starch, and you don't want starch where the joints would be. So I've just changed the option to make the composition fit. I'm selecting that pin tool again. I've got my timeline right at 0 seconds. I can see that down the bottom. I'm hovering over the yellow dot and I'm holding down Control. This automates the keyframe motions, and I can actually see the outline of where the figure will be moving as the timeline moves ahead. I can see it in real time. I can now press play in the preview section down to the bottom right. Okay, I'm now going to do the same thing for all of the other sections, holding down Control and moving the mouse around, watching where that timer frame is. I'm going to go down to the Layers tab and I'm going to look at the options for these pins. So as I said, After Effects has animated and automated our keyframes for those movements. And so essentially you've just got to look at the layers and try and align it to where the dots are. This is important because I can make adjustments. I can move them closer together to make the movement quicker, move them further apart to make the movement slower, or I can delete some. Okay, I've opened up all of the folders for those puppet pin tools, and as you can see, I can squish them all closer together at the same time. So I've simply highlighted all of those layers, and I'm holding down Alt, selecting one and moving them either further away or closer together. This means that the movement's going to be slower and more organic because she seemed a little bit manic and the hair was a bit too flicky. I'm now going to export the file, so File, Add to Render Queue. I'm selecting where to save it and what I want it to be called, and I'm pressing Render. You'll see eventually a little blue bar appear and an estimated time for completion. Once that blue bar finishes, your animation is automatically saved into that correct file location.